there's one very good thing I can say about book in a month or book in 30 days. It's over. And that's the great news. I'm really pleased. It didn't go at all the way that I was expecting. I think when I started this at the beginning of November, I was hoping for a really smooth, fluid movement into finishing a novel that I've been poking at for almost a year. I did start it in December last year, but I've been prodding it and testing it to see whether something will come from that. Back in Easter this year, I went off on a segue with my detective fiction story, and I thought that was going very well until I shared it with some friends in the regular manuscript critique group that I'm a part of. There are 5 of us in our little Nottingham Writers Studio group who are in that particular critique group. There are multiple critiques going on within our community. But one of them said, don't you think that's a bit of an option for a completely different story? And I had to think about it and say, yes, it completely was. A direction or a diversion that I shouldn't have been going down. It was a bit like I was cruising along this A road, dual carriageway, decent speed, lots of things happening, regular stops, bursts of acceleration, and interesting vehicles or characters along the route. And then I went down this other side road almost, and I didn't quite get to a dead end, but I was getting bogged down in muddy road or unclear directions through the woods. It was that sort of metaphor or that sense of losing my way. And that was about 18,000 words that I had added to the story, thinking, oh yeah, this is what I want. I want such demands upon my key detective that he will show himself to be superhuman by the way he responds to the challenges and the battles within this mythic story of the sole detective against the violent outside world. But it was wrong. It was something I shouldn't have been doing. And it cost me several months, almost months of just thinking about where to go with the novel back in Easter and then into May and June. So when I went away for a few weeks in August, and then again for a month in October, I had thought that I would get that story back on track. I didn't. What actually happened was I used those 2 opportunities to think more deeply about my character and his values and his set of morals, and how that will guide a series of stories for him as a character within a detective series. And that was really useful, so that when I had the few weeks away in October, I cut out those 18,000 words that had no place being in that particular aspect of the book, and I've parked them somewhere else with some other notes, and that I'm happy with. So that's a 4-minute way into saying I'm glad that November has finished, but let's talk about what did come out of it and what was really, really good. About an hour ago, I'm recording this at just after midday where I am upstairs in the house. And about an hour ago, I sent an email to the lady who is helping me to produce and to package and get ready 2 new non-fiction books that I finished this month. One of them I finished an hour ago. They're very small, and I'm calling them, I think at the moment, I'm calling them rough and ready guides. They're both under 10,000 words, and they sit alongside the word count that I've managed for the fiction story across the month of November. Looking at my data, again, because I like seeing numbers and structure to what I've been doing. Having a declared public diary, I think, is a bit like when I go to a coffee shop and I write in the coffee shop. I work harder because I'm having to pay for the coffee. This coffee doesn't cost me anything, it's from the kitchen downstairs. But when I go to a coffee shop, there is a sense that I am renting a chair in that coffee shop for 1 hour. And if I stay longer, I'll get another drink and maybe some food. But I'm in that coffee shop and I'm paying to lease that piece of furniture. So I have to get the words down. So it felt good this past month to have seen fairly consistent writing across the month on the fiction, the main project, and also the non-fiction guides. I had hoped that, but this was pure fantasy, I had hoped that I might get more than 2 done. But what I should be proud of, and I think sometimes it takes us as creatives a while to acknowledge the results that we're getting and the effort that we have put in, and to see a correlation between time invested and word creation as the output. I think I was hoping to have more of these little fast and furious or rough and ready guides, but I have 2 that are absolutely complete. Those will take a format that they will go first into PDF, then they'll go into EPUB, and finally they'll go into a print format, so that there are 6 products created out of the 2 manuscripts that I produced across the month of November. But looking at the data, on the 15th of November, I sat down and I worked out, using the red pen here, the incidents or the frequencies with which I was seeing writing activity. So halfway through the month of November, I had written on 23 occasions. 7 times at my desk, once in the kitchen, once in the living room, 3 times after midnight, i.e. I was doing other things, work-related activity, and then got round to writing late at night. 5 times in coffee shops, those 5 times spread across 2 coffee shops. 4 times across 2 different libraries, twice on trains. So 23 occasions in the first half of the month of November. And what's interesting is, since then, for the subsequent 15 days, I have written in 0 coffee shops. I have written on 2 more trains. I've written on 1 aircraft. And in terms of devices, all of the work for the first 15 days was on my laptop. But in the second 15 days, I have done a lot of writing by hand, using a fountain pen or a biro, and writing in spiral bound notebooks, and then typing those up using my MacBook Air. I have also, on 1 occasion, while I was on a flight last week, I wrote about the 2 characters I was sitting next to, because one of them, all of a sudden it occurred to me halfway through the flight, she was a godsend in terms of me trying to capture the details and the mannerisms of somebody with some spectrum behaviour who could sit very nicely in an aspect of the story that I've been working on that particular week, or last week as it was. Let's look at the actual word count. The word count itself is very different from what I had thought it would be. I actually ended on 48,400 words. If I take a daily average, if I divide the 48,400 by 30 days, I get 1,613 words as my daily average. But because I had 42 writing sessions across the 30 days, that average drops to 1,152 words per writing session. And there were 2 days in which I wrote nothing. So I actually wrote over 28 days instead of 30. And I think I feel okay about how it went. I've got 2 new titles, and those 2 titles will give me 6 new products. It could be that one of those titles goes gangbusters and gives me an interesting new income, or it could be that the 2 of them together would work nicely as a multi-pack of books, so I can package those 2 for one price that is higher than a single book price, but do it in such a way that people think, oh, this is a good deal, I'll buy it and take advantage of the pricing offer. I am disappointed that I didn't finish this novel. And I think that's the strongest sensation that I have when I came to sit in front of the camera and record that today. Because I was hoping that that would have been finished. We're now on the first day of December, and I don't know how much writing I will get done in December. I think I can manage 15 days where I sit down for at least an hour. And according to the process of 1,100 words per writing session for November, those 15 days will give me almost 18,000 words. And surely I can package that book. I don't think there are many scenes that I've failed to write, but what I need to do is stitch together some of the scenes with link passages that mean there are no sequential gaps in the way the story develops in the minds of the reader or the minds of the readers. So that's my little report on the final week. It's actually on the actual last 9 days of Novel in a Month, because I've done 3 previous reports. But I have to say that if I look at those numbers, I can't fail but to be other than pleased with what's happened. Because if I hadn't taken part in the challenge, I wouldn't have added a huge number of words to my detective fiction manuscript, but neither would I have actually got 2 new mini guides to sell in my non-fiction arsenal of books that I'm very happy with, that are my bread and butter in terms of income and my day-to-day activity. So I have to take it as it's been a good month. It didn't go completely in the direction I had expected, but am I pleased? Can I put my head on the pillow tonight and say, okay, November was successful because you are further ahead than you were the previous month. You have not 1, but 2 new products that can be monetized during the course of December. And you are within a hair's breadth now, Nick, that's me talking to myself. I can see that I am very close to finishing the book that I started last year, and this would actually be my first commercial novel, and I'll be happy with that. So it's a long-winded way of saying it's been a productive month, some unexpected deviations or detours, but also 2 very exciting projects that I had only visualised during Preptober, the month of October, before sitting down to actually write them alongside the fiction story. So that's me done. I'm going to enjoy this coffee because the video is done, and I can say to you that I hope you can see December and January as months in which you can add to your word count and move on to the next project, clearing the desk almost and saying, right, this is what I'm writing now, this is what I'm focused on, and here we go with the new work in progress. Okay, happy writing.